Okay, so we're here with Andre at Asetek, and they're debuting their new DD wheelbase. Andre, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. You're a lucky guy.
I'm a
you
lucky
are the
guy.
first ever in the world to film this. As you have not told the viewers about, we've been scrambling here for the last 20 minutes to get everything out of the boxes and running. So here we are.
Yeah.
And what you see here is our Invicta wheelbase. We will have different tiers, just like we have the Forte pedals, we will have the Forte wheelbase, and just like we have the Invicta pedals, we'll also have the Invicta steering wheel. What we have here is the Forte steering wheel. The Invicta steering wheel will be very much alike. It will have a display though, so that's the main difference. These are...
So, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but
Sure, go ahead.
the display, is that just going to like fill in this section here?
No,
or it's going to be
no, it's a proper display.
proper display?
Yes.
So 4.3 inch?
Yeah, I think that's actually what it is, a high resolution. The reason why we are not displaying this is literally because of the global chip supply.
Yeah.
We have everything ready, we just don't have the chips yet. And that's something that's, you could say, that's the common denominator of everything you see here. Everything is really 3D printed.
So the tolerances aren't there yet?
No, because this is a 3D print, because we have a supplier in China that's been locked down, so we don't have the plastic part. We had said yes to the trade show, so what options did we have other than 3D print? Not really a lot, but you can see the shape of the wheel, you can see the functionality of the wheel, and that will be the same.
So what will be the material that you'll use in the wheel?
Yeah, so as I just said, this is a 3D print.
Yep.
The final version will be a composite material, so it will be carbon fiber, glass, and a plastic. So ultra strong, ultra rigid material.
Also the quick release, will it be the same
No,
material?
the quick release will actually be as it is here, but it's, this is, as you can see, the milling traces. This is milled, it'll be die cast, so that the faces that are touching each other and the paddle will be aluminum.
Okay.
And then everything else will be this composite material.
All right.
And on this, we have the clutches, we have the shifters, we have the DRS. And one thing that's, at least I believe, is quite unique is, you can feel it yourself afterwards, but the steering wheel is pretty rigid.
Okay.
That's not been easy to accomplish, because at the same time you can actually remove the handles.
Right.
So we will come with handles in different colors, but even more important, different hardnesses, but also for different hands. I have pretty big hands, and
Yeah.
if I put my thumb in here now, it's not great. It's okay, but
Yep.
it's not great. So there will be a medium size and an XL size, and that's something the end user, by removing 4 screws, can swap in minutes.
Yeah.
So that's very easy. The quick release, not much else to say than it's very easy to use.
Yep.
And I got some slamming on the internet because I had tested it on a wheelbase that was not attached, but I would like you to grab the wheel yourself and see if there's any play in it. I guess you're more trustworthy than me.
Yeah, no, it's no play. No play at all.
Speaking on the quick release, if I was an end user now in sim racing, I would be a little bit confused, because you have so many quick
Yeah,
releases
there's a lot of different ones.
and so many different ecosystems. But what we are doing right now is we actually have contacted several wheel manufacturers and offered our system at very affordable prices.
Okay.
So that end users can actually, go and buy a wheel from someone else and put it on, and vice versa. I think that's important, not to try to lock people in.
So you're going to have actually sort of open to third-party wheel add-ons with your quick release.
Of course, I cannot say whether the third-party wheel manufacturers think it's a good idea or not, but at least we are open to it.
Yeah.
And furthermore, to the extent possible, we will also make adapters, so that if you have bought your own wheel and spent a lot of money on that, then you will be able to use some sort of an adapter to attach into ours. One thing, of course, is, as you can see, we have no wires and everything is routed through the motor itself. If you happen to have a wheelbase where that's not the case, then we can help you with the steering wheel with no wire. But then you would of course need the wire to your PC.
So it'd have to be USB?
Yes, but that's something that's specific to the wheel motor and not really specific to Asetek here. So we are trying to do this as, let's say, open as possible.
And is this low power Bluetooth?
No, this we have power, we have USB, we have everything through. I don't want to talk bad about others, but we don't really buy into the Bluetooth thing.
So it's all through the base?
This is sufficiently wired all the way to the base, so there's a hollow shaft, and then there is a really high quality and very expensive slip ring in the back.
Okay.
And when we started this, we were of course skeptical and worried about the whole slip ring thing as well. But I think we have now passed more than 200 million in our testing, going, and not only rotation, but vibrations also.
Yeah.
So it's a very sturdy design. So you actually have from the wheel and out a proper hardline USB connection. And that's also, of course, with the display going to be fun, because then there's a lot of things that you can potentially do on the display.
These encoders, for instance, they're all mappable, obviously.
Everything is mappable.
Funky switch?
Yes.
On both sides?
Yes, and you can turn them, push them, and do whatever you want.
Right,
and
toggle switches?
Yes, and then you can see the LEDs here. If you come back a little bit later, when my marketing team has had the time, there will actually be small stickers on.
Little labels?
So there will be a small black label, so you won't see all this LED lighting coming out. There will be black labels.
So you get a backlit...
Yes, and then there will be a backlit label where you can see whatever you want to map it to, but that will be a big sticker sheet for... I think I said sticker shit. I mean sticker sheet.
It's YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So we will have a sticker sheet with all the different options, and you can map everything as you want in our software.
Okay, cool. And moving on to the base itself, the Invicta base. This one is going to be 27 Newton meters?
Yes, 27 Newton meter.
Yeah, so the holding torque will be a few Newton meters lower.
Yeah, but it's not much lower, that I know.
And is there, have you had any experience with force feedback fade during the testing?
No, we have tested and tested and tested, and I don't know how others are doing it, but I can tell you what we are doing.
Okay.
We have actually invested the money in a real torque measuring device. So you have a motor on each side with the torque meter in, and then we crank them up against each other, and then we monitor it, and we monitor temperatures, etc. Because this idea of having your steering wheel lift a bucket of water or something like that, it doesn't really say anything about long-term usage. So, like with our pedals, that's really been through rigorous testing. We do the same on the wheelbases. Okay. We don't want to promise something we cannot live up to, because, in my opinion, if we come out with a 27 Newton meter or a 22 Newton meter, it doesn't matter. No. So there's no point for us in stating 27 if we can't live up to it.
And this will be like the top of the range.
Yes.
Base, and then underneath that there's...
Then we will have the Forte. Yeah. That will be 17 Newton meter. 17. So still quite strong for, let's say, a medium.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
So this 27 would be for the people that want the ultimate
yes.
peak torque. And then 17 would be more like everyone else.
Yes.
Average.
And then eventually we will have a smaller one also with even less torque. And then perhaps try to flip it around here.
So this is interesting too, the mounting.
Yeah. So what we have done here is we're creating slots in the motor. And the reason we've done that, there are several reasons.
They're T-slots, right?
Yes, they're T-slots. Yeah. So one of the reasons we have done it is, as you can see, if you will be filming our rigs in a second, is then instead of all these extensions that I personally don't like, and the reason I don't like it is that on a 27 Newton meter motor, if you put on an extension this long, you're actually putting a lot of load on the bearings in the motor itself. And I would not say the motor cannot handle this, but there will be play over time, because the motor is not really, at least our motor that's made by Mieke, at least that one is not designed to have these big extensions on. So instead we just push the motor.
The only thing with some sim races, they like to have the screen in between the motor and the wheel. That's why they have those extensions.
Yes, but I would say in this, there's no problem putting in a small extensions, and we were probably making something as well, 1-2 inches or something like that, but not these huge ones.
Like 6 or 7.
And if people need that space, then they should update their screen, because then it's from the 80s.
Yeah.
But this mount you see here is essentially a table mount.
Yep.
You can of course also mount it on a rig, as you see, Then we will have a mount that's a tilt mount. So you can actually put it in between this and the motor, then you can tilt the motor.
Okay.
Then we will have, I mean, you can go and film it afterwards, but then we will have, I think what most people will refer to a front or a side mount. We have a side mount bracket. It's still to our motor attached in the bottom, but it has mounting holes in the side, and we have made the same mounting holes as Aseteks, so any rig a Aseteks DD motor would fit into, ours would fit into as well.
Okay.
And this blade is only 5mm thick, and it will not really take more space towards your leg than any other motor, because as you can see, it's of course difficult to see on camera, but as you can see, it's much slimmer form factor.
It's quite a small form factor.
Yes, so it does take up a lot of space.
And the depth of the different bases, like the Invicta's this long, the Forte will be the same length?
The Forte will actually be a little bit smaller.
A little bit shorter?
Yeah, simply because there's less windings and less magnets, because it's a weaker motor.
Okay, and all the electronics are internal?
Yes, everything is internal. That we have a power supply, of course. Yeah. Yes, we actually looked at putting in the power brick, but it doesn't make sense for approval reasons. You know, this power brick that we use is approved for pretty much worldwide. If we wanted to build that in, even if it was the same electronics inside the power brick, even if we wanted to build it in, then we would have to get new approvals worldwide, each country, for each our wheelbase, which obviously makes no sense.
No.
So, but other than that, everything is hidden inside.
Yeah. And what about on the back? What connections can you have?
You have obviously the PC USB connection. You have the power. Here you have the button boxes. And while we add the button boxes, we will actually make a version also with a T-slot system.
Okay.
So that if you don't like our bracket, or if you just mount it as we have done on the Formula rigs, then you can just mount this anywhere on your profile rig, so you have the button boxes still.
I was just going to say, if you're going to put like side bracket here, you can mount them on the side.
You can mount them on the side. There will be holes for that as well, or you can mount it on the rig.
Yep.
And then 5 USB, 1 PC USB, and the power.
These are all USB-C?
Yeah, that's USB-C.
So can you plug the Forte and Invicta pedals?
Absolutely. That's the whole reason we made them, is that, as you know, we came with the pedals first.
Yep.
And then, now we have the bases and the wheels. And we will come with, down the line, shifters, handbrakes, motion platform.
Yep.
And for those of you remember that my very first video, our intent is that you would be able to buy a full rig from us, connect everything to the wheelbase, one piece of software, and off you go.
These little button boxes here, they're just mappable buttons that you can use for...
No, actually these ones are hardwired, and that's because we're a little old-fashioned. We don't want people to break their hands and their arms and their legs. So here you turn on the system and off, obviously. And here you take torque on and off.
Okay.
And that's it. And that you cannot change.
All right, so you can adjust the torque of the motor on the fly.
No, not with this one. You'll be able to do that elsewhere, but this is just torque on and off. So that it's like an emergency button. The reason why
emergency stop.
Yeah, but the reason why we don't call it that is because typically emergency button, it also have a legal meaning. We don't care about end users in that sense.
Okay.
What I mean is, if we call it, for example, towards UL, so this is an emergency stop, then there are rules we have to comply to, that we take the power off to the motor and everything, and that's of course annoying if you're in the middle of the race, and then you have to, so that's why we call it torque off, but it's a safety mechanism that when you have done 10 revolutions in your rig, then you can press this, and then
it goes around.
Yeah, then you will stop.
Yeah. So this is turning on and off the
yes.
base, and it's hardwired to the base.
Yes.
And then this is to turn the actual motor off, so the wheels spin free.
Yes, exactly. And then, I mean, you can swap them, and you can, as I said before, you can put them in your rig. You can do whatever you want.
Actually, you could probably mount them underneath as well.
You can, and there are actually 4 holes, so you can just flip it and...
it's a bit more out of the way.
Yes, exactly. So there are many options there, but you know, some people sell their motors even without the torque off, and of course it's an extra cost, but I believe it's the right thing to do.
And will that be just for the 27 and the 17?
It'll be all of them.
All?
Yeah. It should not be like if you don't have the money for the big equipment, then you're still unsafe. So you know, it's these will be on all of them for sure.
And will these bases ultimately be compatible with consoles?
You know, that's a very good question, and the answer is yes. The only thing I cannot say is when, and I think it's a very relevant question to end users because we get these requests all the time.
Yeah.
But because of the global chip shortage, the answer we have gotten until now from Sony and Microsoft is, well, there's global chip shortage. How high do you think you are? Not Asetek, but in general, how high do you think it is for us to enable new hardware partners when we can't even get chips enough for those we have?
Yeah.
So that's really what's going on. But we are in dialogue with both of them, and we hope we get there. So it's definitely a part of our plan.
So that would be just under license then with Sony and Xbox?
Yeah, you can make hacks, as you know. You can buy a box you put in between, and then you can trick the console to believe it's something else. Yeah. And then half of the buttons doesn't work. And if end users want to do that, fine with us. But as a company, we cannot go to market with something like that. So the way it works is that, for example, if it was the Sony, we would have a key, a chip, even in the wheel or in the wheelbase, that will then be able to communicate with the console.
Okay. Very interesting. Nice development.
Thank you. It's been busy.
Yeah.
And then perhaps a final thing to say here is that this is a Formula wheel, obviously. It's a coincidence. It's a matter of what we had from our supply chain, but we are coming out with GT wheels, of course.
GT,
yeah, for sure.
So D-shaped.
We will have full. We will have D-shape. Yes. Okay. We will have with and without display as well.
Okay.
So pretty much the same button functionality as you have on the Formula wheels.
Right.
We don't have DRS, of course, and a few things like that. But in general, you can map everything as you want, but just in a GT shape.
I guess the really big question for the community then is, when is it going to be released?
If it's up to me, you can buy them, not just pre-order them. You can buy them and get them before Christmas.
Right.
But not everything is up to me. But that's what we hope for. And for sure, if we thought this would be a pre-order thing with delivery in Q2 next year, then we would not have been on the show. Because that's not fun for us and it's not fun for the users. But
so you're planning to have it out by the end of the year?
Yes.
Yeah.
And as you may know from our pedals, when we put up our pre-order program, we actually don't charge people credit cards. So even if we are delayed, they're in the full right to say, nah, I don't want to wait for this. And you don't have to transfer or wire any money back and forth. We don't charge until we ship.
All right, and maybe one more final question.
Yeah, go ahead.
It'll be integrated with the SimSport software?
Yes, and I actually have one of our software guys here if you want to get an intro of that. But sure. Yes, that's the entire plan, that our Race Hub software, there you will be able to map everything, set everything up, and for example, if you don't like LED lighting, you can turn it on or off, and there are mixed emotion about LED lights. Myself, I don't use them. But when I have friends over and I want to brag, then it's full power on everything. And one thing is for sure, when you have them, you can turn them on. If you don't have them, you cannot turn them on.
It does give a nice effect for people that don't have other RGB lighting on their rigs.
Exactly.
It's a nice accent for the rig itself.
Yes, exactly.
And that you can change the colour. So I've got a green rig at home.
Yeah, so I remember that one.
Yeah, so I can put the LED to green, to match, or I go to purple, which is also a contrast.
And these are actually addressable. I don't actually recall if it's supported in our software yet, but it will be. So you can address them and make all these kind of color schemes that you want. Perhaps a final thing for me is what's next. And our next year, assuming this goes well, everything will be out the door. Then our next plan is actually seats and rigs. We are actually working on it already. GT, Formula.
They're going to be profile rigs or properly welded rigs?
Let me put it like this: it'll be the best from both worlds.
Okay, hybrid. Yeah.
Yes, because I think not that we are too proud or think we are too important, but these profile rigs that you see here, everybody can go to a shop and buy them and cut them up. So I don't really see how could we do anything differently, or how could we be better or worse than everybody else. So we let them do that. What we have kept is the, should we call it, IKEA concept. that our rigs will be able to pack in a very small box, and then either be assembled by our end users. You know, the community you represent is probably the do-it-yourself type, where, you know, building it is perhaps 60% of the experience. But there are many sim racers out there, and I meet a lot of them, especially on racetracks and supercar events, where there are a lot of people who would like a rig, but they have no idea and they have no interest in where to start. So, as you know, we are also enabling this global network of resellers. So that would be an obvious one. We can ship the rig to them, very low shipping cost, very small box. Then they can assemble everything for their customers and ship it out.
Is that globally then, or just within Europe?
No, that will be global. We are, per definition, a global company. It may not be that easy to tell because of the shipping rates around the world right now, but that's something we're working very hard on improving.
Yeah, Australia's really bad for that.
Yes, but you know, speaking of that, perhaps also to educate your viewers a little bit, you know, we have a spring in our web shop, a throttle spring, and I think we sell it for $7-8 or something like that. And a lot of users, they get faced with this $30 shipping, which absolutely makes no sense. But that is our cost for a tracked shipping. We don't put profits on it. And of course the answer to that is that we are going to build inventory with our global resellers, because it of course makes no sense. But it's just not something we are in charge of, because we could also charge $20 for the spring and give you $2 shipping. But at the end of the day, exactly. So we are just transparent about it. But that's why we believe in this whole reseller thing. And our reseller network, that we can ship a container or a pallet to our resellers, and then they get a little bit of everything, and then they have it in stock. So I would actually encourage our users to support our resellers. I think it's nice that people can buy through our web shop, but to be honest, that's not our primary philosophy. That's just something we do because some people would like to buy from the manufacturer. But the more you support the resellers, the more they will also have inventory, and then it becomes a win-win.
Yeah, for sure. Andre, thanks very much for your time. You're welcome. It was very interesting to learn more about the new Invicta DD base. And I'm looking forward to testing it now.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you did the video first.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah, that was your choice. Take care, guys.